Coffee Break German, Season 3, Episode 7. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Coffee Break German. Ich bin Marc.
Und ich bin Andrea.
Wie geht's dir, Andrea?
Mir geht es sehr gut, danke. Und dir?
Mir geht's auch sehr gut. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Break German, Season 3, where we're getting into the language in greater detail and taking a deeper look at some of these interesting constructions in German.
Marc, kennst du schon das Thema der heutigen Episode?
Can I ask you something, Andrea? Das Thema der heutigen Episode, is that a genitive?
Ja.
Okay, so der heutigen Episode, so it's der because it is die Episode?
Ja, genau. Und es ist of the heutige Episode.
Yeah, so do I know the theme of today's episode? Well, I don't think we're talking about genitives anymore.
Nein, leider nein, Marc. Leider nein. Wir sprechen heute über die Infinitivstruktur.
Is that infinitive structures?
Ja, das ist richtig.
So what exactly are infinitive structures? I'm sure you're going to explain it in detail in the episode, but give us a flavor of what we can expect.
Yes, so I'm sure listeners have come across it and you must have come across it too. And it's when we use the infinitive of a verb, but before the verb we have zu.
Oh, right, of course. Yes, I've come across this, definitely. I guess we're going to learn exactly how this works and where it would occur in this episode. Also, bist du bereit?
Ich bin bereit.
Los geht's! So tell us a little more about infinitive structures then.
Yes, so as I said, it's the zu plus the infinitive. And we often use this in combination with certain verbs. For example, hoffen or versprechen. Do you know versprechen?
Is it to promise?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Or I can give you an example with lernen. Ja. So, heute lernen wir mit der Infinitivstruktur besser Deutsch zu sprechen.
Right, so today we are learning mit der Infinitiv... Is it Struktur or Struktur?
Struktur.
Struktur. So with the infinitive structure, besser Deutsch zu sprechen. So better German to speak. So the zu is coming before the sprechen. But in a sense, sprechen on its own means to speak. So what's this zu doing in there?
It's just a grammatical function, really, that goes with certain verbs, as I said. So lernen is one of the verbs, but as I said before, versprechen is very common. Ich verspreche anzurufen.
I promise to... Oh, no, wait a minute. Anzurufen, so you've got a second
I'm sorry.
verb. We're going straight into that.
Yeah, I'll make it easier. Ich verspreche zu lernen.
Right, so I promise to learn or to study.
Genau.
So, ich verspreche zu lernen. But let's go back to the I promise to call back. Let's hear it again.
Ja, ich verspreche anzurufen.
So we've got the verb anrufen in there, but you're putting the zu in the middle of your separable bits.
That's correct. So we remove the prefix and then put the zu in between the prefix and the infinitive verb.
Okay, ich verspreche anzurufen. The same way as we would put a g in the middle there when we're forming a past participle, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, give us another example.
Zum Beispiel, die Mannschaft hofft, das Spiel zu gewinnen.
Right, so die Mannschaft is the team. And you said hoffen earlier is one of these verbs, to hope. So, die Mannschaft hofft, das Spiel zu gewinnen, to win the game.
Ja, genau, das ist richtig.
So, in each of these cases, you said, ich verspreche zu lernen, or die Mannschaft hofft, das Spiel zu gewinnen. In each of these cases, am I right in thinking that there would be a comma in there?
That is correct, yeah?
Okay.
So we have our main clause, die Mannschaft hofft, ich verspreche, and then the main clause is finished and we have a comma. And then we have a subordinate clause with the infinite structure inside.
Right. So das Spiel zu gewinnen or zu lernen and so on.
Genau, richtig.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you like another example with a separable verb?
Yeah, that would probably be good because we've said anzurufen, yeah?
Genau, ja.
Uh-huh.
So I have one with the verb vergessen in the main clause.
Mm-hmm.
Wir haben vergessen, den Schlüssel abzugeben.
Right. So wir haben vergessen, we've forgotten, den Schlüssel, so that's the accusative. Therefore it's the object of our sentence. We have forgotten the key, abzugeben. So abgeben, to give back, to hand in.
Ja, korrekt, ja. So to hand in.
Okay. And again, you're putting the zu in between the ab and the geben. Normally abgeben on its own, but abzugeben.
Genau. And have you noticed a difference between this sentence and the other examples we looked at?
Well, I suppose in the first part of this sentence, we've got a perfect tense. Wir haben vergessen.
Genau. That's correct. So we have a different tense in a main clause, but the subordinate clause doesn't change.
Because it's an infinitive.
Genau, richtig.
Okay,
Sehr gut,
that makes
super.
sense. Okay, so there we've got a perfect tense in the first part. Wir haben vergessen, den Schlüssel abzugeben, with the infinitive structure in the second part. But could we have like a past infinitive structure in the second part?
Yes, this is possible if your infinitive structure is discussing something that happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an example for this if you would like to hear it.
Absolutely.
Sabine ärgert sich, das gesagt zu haben.
Oh, so ärgert sich is to be annoyed. Sabine is annoyed, das gesagt zu haben. To have said that?
Das ist korrekt. Yeah, very good. Well done.
Okay, so that, gesagt, said, zu haben, to have. So we can almost think of it literally as a translation from English, to have said that, das gesagt zu haben, with a different word order, obviously.
Exactly. So what is interesting here is that haben is in the infinitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the zu is before the haben.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not sure whether I would be able to create it myself, but I'm sure you're going to give me a challenge with that later.
Of course.
Okay. Andrea, so far we've seen situations where, for example, the first part and the second part of the sentence have the same subject. So the team hopes to win the game. And that in English we have to win. But what happens if, for example, I don't know, the fans hope that the team wins?
But then we don't have this same structure anymore. Then we need to make a das sentence. In this case, it would be die Fans hoffen, dass die Mannschaft oder ihre Mannschaft das Spiel gewinnt.
Right. So in that case, it's more like a normal sentence, if I can say that.
Yes, you can. Obviously, for me, they are all normal sentences. But if you mean that this is more a subordinate clause that we've seen many times with a verb with a word starting the subordinate clause, in this case it's das, then yes, and then we have the conjugated verb at the end and no infinitives floating around there. So yes, for the infinitive structure, the main clause and the subordinate clause need to have the same subject, otherwise it doesn't work.
Okay. Could you give us another example of this, Andrea?
Yes, sure. I have one about Lisa. Lisa freut sich, dass Karl mit ihr an die Party kommt.
Okay, so here we've got Lisa is excited that Karl is coming to the party with her. Dass Karl mit ihr an die Party kommt.
Genau, das ist richtig.
Okay. Am I right in thinking that we sometimes see infinitive structures with S? I'm thinking kind of like, you would see a sign up somewhere saying like, it's forbidden to do something, and you get a zu in there.
Yes. And this is quite interesting also in terms of what I just said with the subjects before, because we need to have some imagination to understand these sentences. We have this often when something is forbidden or when we say it's wonderful, it's nice, etc. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Es ist verboten, hier zu telefonieren.
So it's forbidden to phone here.
Yeah, to make phone calls.
To make phone calls. Okay.
And obviously it is a person that is not allowed to make phone calls, not some imaginary it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
So here we need a bit of imagination to understand this. When we have es ist verboten, es ist erlaubt, then it's always the person then that can do these things or can't do these things.
Okay.
And also we say often, es ist sehr schön, hier zu sitzen. Es ist interessant, Coffee Break German zu hören.
Yeah. I think we've said things like, es ist wunderbar, zurück zu sein, or something like that. It's wonderful to be back, yeah.
Yes, we've come across these structures. It's just that because I said earlier, it's the same subject, but here we have to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to these structures with is.
Okay. So we can use this idea of it is something to do something. So it's exciting to be here. It is interesting to read books. It's wonderful to learn German with Coffee Break.
Genau, es ist wunderbar, mit Coffee Break German Deutsch zu lernen.
Natürlich. Okay, we're going to take a short break there, and after that we'll be back with our dialogue in which we're bound to hear more than one or two infinitive structures. Back in a moment.
In addition to the podcast version of Coffee Break German Season 3, we're also putting together a full course on the Coffee Break Academy, where you'll be able to access bonus materials to help you make even better progress with your German.
That's right. Not only will you be able to enjoy an ad-free audio version of each lesson, we'll also provide a bonus episode where Andrea will be testing us with some translation challenges based on the topic of each lesson. And of course, there are comprehensive notes and a video version of each lesson too. Visit coffeebreakgerman.com and follow the links for Season 3 there. Also, Andrea, es ist toll, hier zu sein.
Genau,
okay? Das
finde ich auch.
Und ich freue mich, den Dialog zu hören.
Ja, ich mich auch.
So, 2 zu plus infinitives there, and I seem to have used them both correctly. Tell us a little about this dialogue, please.
This dialogue takes place on a campsite, and we have Ines and Hartmut, who are taking their family to the campsite, and they don't have exactly the same idea of how this first day at the campsite goes down.
Okay, let's take a listen, and afterwards we'll talk through the meaning or talk through the story, and then we can take a closer look at it later. Los geht's.
Ah, endlich angekommen. Ich hatte gehofft, früher hier zu sein.
Jetzt haben wir es ja geschafft. Versuchen wir mal, unser Zelt aufzubauen. Die Kinder können schon mal anfangen, Holz für das Lagerfeuer zu sammeln.
Nein, Ines, hier ist es verboten, ein Lagerfeuer zu machen.
Ach, wirklich? Ich hatte noch keine Möglichkeit, die Regeln zu lesen. Und wie hast du vor zu kochen?
Es gibt überall auf dem Campingplatz Feuerstellen. Es sollte einfach sein, eine zu finden, die wir benutzen können.
Ist es denn möglich, eine zu reservieren?
Nein, wer zuerst kommt, mahlt zuerst. Ich erwarte aber, zu den wenigen zu gehören, die keinen Gaskocher dabei haben.
Ich habe mir überlegt, auch einen zu kaufen. Die sind schon sehr praktisch. Sie sind wirklich einfach zu bedienen.
Ich weiß. Ich gebe mir aber Mühe, den Kindern viel Abenteuer zu bieten. Und was ist abenteuerlicher, als auf dem offenen Feuer sein Abendessen zu kochen?
Das stimmt. Ich finde es halt praktischer, gleich beim Zelt zu kochen.
Ja, jetzt müssen wir erstmal das Zelt aufbauen. Kinder, habt ihr Lust, uns zu helfen?
Die Kinder sind schon mal los zum Eisstand. Sie hatten von mir die Erlaubnis, sich ein Eis zu kaufen.
Na, da haben Sie ja gleich die Gelegenheit, sich etwas auf dem Gelände umzusehen. Ich kann es kaum erwarten zu sehen, was der Campingplatz alles bietet.
Ja, ich auch. Ich plane, mich heute Abend noch ins warme Sprudelbad zu setzen und danach an der Bar ein Glas Wein zu trinken.
Das hört sich gut an. Vielleicht bringen wir ja die Kinder dazu, sich ein bisschen im Kinderclub zu beschäftigen.
An interesting dialogue. I think Ines and Hartmut have some different ideas.
Genau, richtig. Shall we recap this dialogue together?
Yes, please.
So we have our protagonist, Hartmut and Ines, and they go camping with their children. They hoped to arrive a bit earlier. And then Ines suggests that they start setting up the tent and they start collecting wood for the campfire. But Hartmut points out that it is forbidden to make a campfire in front of the tent. And Ines admits that she hasn't read the rules yet and wonders how Hartmut wants to cook. He points out that the campsite provides designated areas for campfires, which cannot be reserved though. And Ines then says that she would have liked to get a gas cooker, but Hartmut says that he wants to try and give his children the most adventure that he can offer.
Indeed. So when he asks the children to help build the tent, what happens?
Well, they're already gone because Ines said to them they could go to the ice cream stall and get themselves an ice cream. And, but that's good. Ines plans to later sit in the whirlpool or the hot tub.
Yeah.
And Hartmut actually thinks this is a good idea and hopes that the children will go to the kids club and entertain themselves there.
Okay. So, of course, we've heard lots of zu plus infinitives in here, our infinitive structures. And in our bonus episode, in our language study episode, we'll be going through this conversation in detail and analysing all of these in great detail. That's almost it for this episode. But before we finish...
Almost. But there is still something missing, and it is noch eine Kleinigkeit. So today we are going to look at a nice way of expressing something, and it's die Zelte abbrechen.
Right, so let's split this up first. What are die Zelte?
These are the tents.
Of course, yeah. We're in a camping site after all.
Yes. And abbrechen means to fold them together. So
okay.
To take them apart.
Yeah, so take down the tents.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly, to take down tents, and it means that you pack up your things and you go away. For example, I now live in Scotland, but I grew up in Switzerland, aber ich habe die Zelte abgebrochen in der Schweiz.
Right. Could you say it's like kind of cutting your ties, or is that maybe more negative than this would be?
Yeah, it's not a negative thing. It's it means I have nothing left there, no things left there. I don't have a job there. I don't have a house there, etc. But it doesn't mean that I've burnt my bridges.
I understand. Okay, so you've moved on, kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. So die Zelte abbrechen, and could we put that just to because this is a separable verb? Can we put that into a zu infinitive structure?
Ja, natürlich. I could say, manchmal ist es schwierig, die Zelte abzubrechen.
Okay, so sometimes it's difficult, die Zelte abzubrechen, to move away, to move on in life.
Genau, das ist richtig.
Sehr gut. Also vielen Dank, Andrea.
Danke, Marc.
Es war sehr interessant, die Infinitivstruktur zu lernen.
Bravo, sehr gut.
And we hope that you agree. We will be back soon with another episode of Coffee Break German Season 3. In the meantime, vielen Dank und tschüss.
Bis bald.
You have been listening to a Coffee Break Languages production for the Radiolingua Network. Copyright 2022 Radiolingua Limited. Recording copyright 2022 Radiolingua Limited. All rights reserved.